Two chefs I've known since they were line cooks under Missy Robbins. Ayesha was up at Time Warner. Hillary was down at A Voce. They were sous chef cuisines then. Now they're on their own as full-on chefs, graduates of Missy Robbins University of Culinary Geniuses. We're looking for a great restaurant team that has 4 restaurants in total. The 2 we're going to visit today are 100 Acres, where Ayesha's killing it down on the Google Street, and here at VIC's with Hillary. Food's great. Get ready for great pasta, tons of vegetables, great protein, and 2 chefs that are just on fire. I'm Mike Colameco, industry insider. Been in the business my whole life, and I know what it takes to succeed. Each week we'll take you into real kitchens, filmed in real time. Backstage passes to a day in the life of chefs, restaurateurs, and their teams. The competition's fierce. Careers, life savings, and reputations hang in the balance. These are my people, and this is their passion. And that's what's next on Mike Colameco's Real Food. Mike Colameco's Real Food is brought to you by the continuous, generous support of the following underwriters.
Extra virgin olive oil from Colavita, an Italian family brand.
Rachel Ray's signature specialty food line, designed for preparing meals at home.
You guys are like 4 restaurants now?
Yes.
And you have that long story. I was surprised you came to New York like late 70s, 80s. You'd worked on the West Coast in the business. Back in our day, like the restaurants weren't, this wasn't something people aspired to.
I don't think there was a noble sense about it. For me, there was something that I was able to connect with that fulfilled something creative too.
Right.
Wow, that looked good on the plate.
Right.
It tasted good. I could do that?
Which restaurant did you open first in New York? Cook Shop?
No, there was a restaurant in 1993 called VIX, V-I-X.
So that's the first place, and then, but among, so you have 4 open now.
Yes.
There are 2 of them today. 100 Acres was a couple of things. I remember you opened, was it Provence or
Well,
was
it was Provence for 20 years. We knew that it was going down. It just never felt like us from the day we opened it. And about a year into it, we were like, just didn't, like we were sort of sitting in this restaurant going, why are we here? You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like us. So we turned it into 100 Acres, which was much more like us. And things were much better the minute we stopped doing French.
7 years ago, we were filming at A Voce Columbus Circle, and the crew's running around doing stuff, and you start talking to me, and I'm like, man, we should get the cameras on you. You were the sous chef at that point?
Executive sous there.
Executive sous chef.
Yeah.
You went to business school, right?
I did, yeah.
Pace or something?
Went to Pace, graduated. People tell you do what you love. So I went home one day, and on a piece of paper, I wrote diamonds, music, and cooking.
Order fire, 2 kale hummus.
Your road to getting to here was, I mean, Missy must have been a huge influence.
She always used to tease me because she used to say, I'm never going to be a mentor because you already have one. I started at Finalizing.
Right.
At Finalizing, it was like you did everything. There was a list of things to do, and it was like on you. So if duck for 2 was on your station, you were deboning it. When I got to Missy, it was just a whole nother ball game.
How did you meet the owners? How did you land this?
I went to France. I drank, I was in the Vouvray region. I have a
Yes,
friend.
Loire Valley, go, go, go.
Champagne. And I'm like looking at the text, and I'm like, what does Missy want? And she's like, call me when you get home. So she said, I want you to meet these people. Vicky and Mark, they own a few restaurants in Manhattan. She was like, I just want you to meet them. So it was like, you know? She's like, have a conversation. They're people. I was like, okay. And that's really what happened.
The first time I met Ayesha, I just have to say, she came in with her mother and her best friend, and she was wearing a big fur coat and huge earrings and red lips and this massive bun with that heavy Brooklyn accent that she has. And I was like, oh, I just gotta hire her. She's got it all. She's got it all.
So they said they were looking to take a different approach to here and more Mediterranean. I just saw it as like my spice palette. And that's really what drives, I think, my cuisine. So we have our rotisserie chicken, which is basically spiced with green mojo. So it's a puree of cilantro, cumin, garlic, and olive oil. And on the bottom is our chicken shawarma. So it usually starts like as big as the chickens. It comes up on a pita with like an herb salad on top and our version of the white sauce. You need to take out the lemons.
So this is like the Moroccan style.
All of this liquid is straight from what comes out, the juice.
Comes out.
So basically we split them open and then we do a salt sugar mixture, which is almost 50-50. Whole peppercorn, coriander, fennel seed, cinnamon, bay leaf, star anise.
How long does it take for this to become what you want?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
In the walk-in box
This is
under
the first thing I
refrigeration.
did when I got here. And that's what we did.
That's it. We started. This is the beginning of the beginning.
This is
Summer.
the beginning.
Cool.
This is the foundation.
Cool.
Even though we talk about the Mediterranean, I think that some of my dishes today have some Spanish influence. I was in Barcelona waiting for the train to go to this small town where there was like this gorgeous church on a hill. And some guy said, go eat there. Sliced blood sausage, crispy. I've never had it that crispy before. The key that I realized with the crispiness was not only by cutting it open, but using rice in the recipe. So you can see the little rice in there.
Yep.
So in here, we have ripe red tomatoes, garlic, a little bit of oregano. We're using the first green tomatoes of the season. I'm gonna lay this down on the bottom of the plate. I'm gonna lay the eggs right over the sauce.
This is a lunch item and a brunch item?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a killer.
She has everything within reach. She knows her costs. She knows how to push people and make the demand. So you don't see anybody who values all of those qualities and her ability to cook as well.
And she's a rock and roll cook. I mean, more
Oh,
importantly
no,
than,
she's a star.
Right,
She's-
more importantly than anything
Yeah.
is that she can cook.
Transitioning restaurants, I kind of want to get to that because that's really, you know, it's not like you close the doors one day and open up the next day with a new menu and a new name. Talk about that process because it's cooks, it's a new philosophy, it's tweaking the dishes, and it's that first couple of weeks of trying to get it right.
Listen, it's a beautiful thing to walk into a restaurant that's busy. But to go from fried chicken and waffles to lamb tagine is not an easy road.
Yeah, it's not a straight line.
Not at all. So the transition was difficult. To be able to transition a menu while you're still open, that it doesn't look like you're going to give the customer a stomachache, you know? How could you have pimento cheese and lebne next to each other? It just doesn't make sense. It's been an experience because I think it's a test of yourself too.
Did the business school thing come into play at all? Because that's one thing about, you know, chefs to me sometimes we're our worst enemies when it comes to things like food cost and
Right.
management and labor cost. I mean,
Right.
we're just with food. We're gonna make the best food possible, and money's like the third thing on the. But is that something that comes into play? Who doesn't have to anymore? You sort of have it
No,
down.
every single day.
It does.
Every single day.
Yeah.
I think first with the money and then
Yeah.
second with the food. You have to.
Yeah.
It's so competitive now. I mean, having 30-40% food costs,
You're done.
you're done. We have some gorgeous purple snap peas. And first of the peaches of summer. I'm gonna throw in some Parmesan cheese. And then we're just gonna simply olive oil, salt, lots of black pepper, and lemon juice. Because really all the flavors in the dressing and the freshness of the snap peas. Place that here. Generous crack. I love black pepper. I hate when it's like super fine. So I got some coarse ground pepper here. And basically just gonna mix this up. Then we have some guanciale from Brooklyn.
Guanciale from Brooklyn, and the animal in question?
The pork, the pig. So using all local pigs, take some of our green summer goddess dressing. I'm gonna throw in our wild pea tendrils.
So the greens are pea shoots. Is there whole leaf parsley in that too?
No.
Just pea shoots.
These are the wild pea shoots that grow. They have this like stem in the middle that kind of resembles parsley.
So this just screams summer, man. Peaches, cheese. These beautiful little wild pea tendrils. And the peach works really beautifully with the cheese. The dairy and the salt cut the sweetness. This is great.
I've had the opportunity to go to Spain about 4 times now. And each time you're there, you just notice squid ink in a different setting, right? And I think the Italian version of it, it was always that the pasta, in my experience, was like, the squid ink was mixed into the pasta itself.
Right.
And I wanted to do something with the sauce and squid ink. So when I was there, I went to this place that someone had off the beaten path in Madrid, and they had a paella with squid ink. and it was in the sauce, but it's a lot different than what I do because it was like thinner and crunchier, nothing wrong with that, absolutely delicious. And I kind of wanted to bring that here. So the fideos, we're gonna start with our chorizo. Chorizo we basically make with pork shoulder, green herbs, cumin, some chili.
In-house.
In-house. I'm gonna throw in some onions.
Garlic? Yeah.
So we're gonna let the onions sweat a little bit, and I'm gonna add in the pasta.
And again, the inspiration here was you're traveling through Spain, eating this, and you come home and you want to do a riff on it.
And I'm like, I have to do something. I'm gonna put a touch of salt because squid ink is a little salty inherently, so
You don't need much.
we don't need much. And then basically, have some boiling water back here, and you can use any kind of stock or whatever you wish. We use calamari stock. I'm gonna add this in.
It's going to cook the pasta, cook everything in it, bring it all down. You get a little starch out of that pasta.
Exactly, you get a little creaminess of the liquid,
Right.
And then we'll go in with all the last minute touches. The mussels, the clams, fava beans. I'm gonna go in with our squid ink now. I'm gonna throw in some calamari. And then I'm just gonna lid it for a second to have that open up.
That looks great.
So as the mussels start to open now, we're gonna go in with the final touches. Fava bean, snap peas, some English peas,
It's spring.
a little bit of harissa.
You make that in-house?
We do. We take Fresno chilies and regular bell peppers, basically grill them, peel them, and then a combination of about 13 spices. So even though these nice, gorgeous greens are in here, they kind of get consumed in the sauce.
But you'll
But it's
taste them.
those nice, sweet bits. Yes, exactly. Think we're there. We have the chorizo in there, the peas, the calamari, mussels, basil, parsley. We finish it with a little bit of onion blossom.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
You have to taste it.
Crazy. Almost like in that scallion-y, but a little bit of heat at the end
Yeah.
too. They're great.
Before you know it, who doesn't love a little olive oil to finish? Fideos.
This place was gutted, completely renovated.
completely gutted, floor to ceiling.
Yeah, no, I walked in the front door. I mean, I know it's the right place. I walked in the front door and I'm like, this is not 5 points. This is so like, this is what did you blow up and burn down and you rebuilt it?
The funny thing is, everybody asked us, did you widen the place?
Right, all the
I'm
above.
like, right, and
It's
I'm like,
brighter, it's lighter, it's wider. I mean, the other place just felt a little more claustrophobic
it was more
and darker.
claustrophobic,
It was a typical New York restaurant box.
Well, I say in what we've done to this place is more the restaurant I think that we always wanted it to be.
The Missy connection. You guys literally bumped into Missy on the street. You were walking.
yeah, well, here's the story. I walked up Bleecker Street and ran into Missy, who's been a friend for a very long time, and I hadn't seen her in a long time. And toward the end, she said, I have a chef you should meet.
52 share.
I think we talked for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
General food, Italy, philosophy, ingredients.
Right. Just to hear somebody and hear somebody talk about what they want and what they want to do. I saw somebody who had a very solid sense of themselves.
How did you meet the owners?
Missy and VIC Freeman have been friends for like 15 years. When Missy was a young sous chef in the city and come here to 5 Points for brunch. And they happened to be walking down the street and crossed paths one day.
Literally.
Literally, and they bumped into each other and they were talking, and she was talking about changing and their new project, their Mexican place, and Missy's like, you should meet Hillary. And I met with Mark first, and we talked about Italian food for 2 hours. That relationship that someone actually understood Italian food,
Right.
and not just what people think is Italian food, but actually honoring the tradition of Italian food. And then they kind of explained what they wanted to change 5 Points into. And I said, that's kind of what I want to do. 52, please. I'll share a table.
What brought you to cooking? 'Cause you like Ayesha too. You're like a business major. You like went to college, you graduated with like a business major.
A business
And then you went into
major.
like the worst business.
As a kid, I had this dream. I want to open a restaurant, but I need to go to business school. I need to learn, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, so you did want to do this since you were a kid. You wanted to be in the
I
restaurant
did, but I
business.
didn't know I really did.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, let me go to culinary school at night. And I was like, wow, this is fun. And I found this passion about the food and creating and seeing the final plate and like the smells that trigger memories and then all of a sudden watching people get excited and eat your food and that triggers something for them and it's like this great moment. We're making farinata. It's a Ligurian street food. Chickpea flour and water. So it is gluten-free, which is something we do a lot around here, by accident mostly, because we do cook so many vegetables. So we're gonna get this pan nice and hot. Just some olive oil. And then once this is cooking, we'll get our scallions on. It's gonna start bubbling. And we let it sit there and get nice and crispy, and we'll flip it. And then that side gets crispy and inside stays nice and creamy. Letting it get all nice and crispy on the bottom. And we're gonna put this up top for 1 second, just let it set under the salamander. So when we flip it, it doesn't spray everywhere. You can see how much the cooks love this one, I can tell you, on a busy night. Okay.
Not.
And then we have it, now we have that nice crispy outside. We use a cheese called Stracchino or Crescenza. It's a cow's milk, traditionally from Lombardia. This one is from Wisconsin. And we kind of just layer this like a pizza almost.
So in terms of cheeses, what is it like?
It melts so well.
Right.
This is more of a natural cheese. So once we get all that stuff in there, we put it up here.
And it's going to melt for sure.
It's going to melt, and it's kind of like when you get a great arancini and you pull it and that cheese inside, it's super creamy and tender. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our grilled onions.
All right, so I don't know all the new dietary terms. Because there's cheese, there's dairy on this.
Yes.
So what are we allowed to call this? Is this vegetarian?
This is absolutely vegetarian and gluten-free. So what we're gonna do is just dress it with a little bit of lemon juice.
Just because acid polishes flavors.
And it cuts that richness of the cheese. We do use lemon zest as well. Pecorino.
Add some little spice, little acid.
Salt, acid,
Yep,
absolutely.
Yep.
And
Sheep's
then
milk.
And then a little bit of rosemary.
I mean, if you think of like why we like grilled cheese, why we like pizza, why we like it's got crunch on the outside like crazy.
Nice texture,
like literally couldn't hear it, but I'm crunching on this outside thing. It's creamy, it's cheesy, it's olive oily. This crepey thing in the middle is kind of still sort of liquid if you can see it. It's cooked, but I mean it's liquid the way a cooked pancake would be. You've got this menu divided into sections, but you've got this kind of huge, maybe the biggest section. You call it Mercado. And it's whatever is in season, but it's a plethora of just vegetable, vegan, not on purpose, just honor vegetables.
That's it, we just honor the vegetables. The farmers work so hard, and it's such a backbreaking world that they live in, and they love what they do. So why should we mask it and hide it under a steak? Why don't we let it shine? We take our whole roasted carrots, tops on.
Pretty simple.
They just get a little bit of rinse.
Go in a pan.
Washed, scrubbed, a little bit of olive oil.
We don't bother peeling them because the skins taste great.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, there are some reasons why you peel them and some don't, but these come
less
from...
and less I find myself doing it. The outside tastes great. It's the sweetest part of the carrot.
It has all that earthiness and all that other stuff you're looking for, that depth that sometimes is lacking. So what we do is we'll instill a little salt and olive oil on these, and then they go right in the oven. Once they come out, kind of just trim them up to make them nice and even. We'll warm them up gently, and then we have our salsa verde ready.
So with dill, right? This
dill.
is fun.
So it's
That's
dill
the
and
main
carrot
flavor.
tops. Yeah.
Okay.
Shallots and
Anchovy?
garlics. Anchovy, capers. And we also use egg yolk in it. These carrots will take a lot of acid. So what we do is we use a whole orange.
There's a whole orange.
Here's a whole orange. And red wine vinegar. Just put it back on the heat for 1 second, and then we go right to the plate. So then we have our dill salsa verde, which we season again with just a little red wine vinegar. And you can see that like creaminess to it. That's just the egg yolk coming out. All these farmers work really hard on growing these vegetables and doing it in a proper way, and so we kind of let the vegetables shine. Our shallots are roasted and dressed in red wine vinegar. And then we have capers. Fennel
Raw
pollen.
capers?
Raw capers,
Okay.
they come in
And fennel
salt.
pollen.
Fennel pollen. And then we're garnishing again with those carrot tops. They just add a freshness to the dish. And then just a little more dill.
So we're here with Roland, the owner's son. What do you do for me? Something classic, something new?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, I mean, we're still seasonal. We're an Italian-Mediterranean restaurant, but I have to work with what's in season, what's local. Chamomile and strawberries together are just, I think it's just delicious. You see that on paper in general, and you want to go for it.
How do you get a chamomile flavor? You made like a syrup or an extract?
Yeah, what I did was I actually just infused fresh chamomile in vodka.
Gotcha. Grain neutral spirit, now it's got chamomile.
Exactly, it takes really well to the chamomile. It's a vodka chamomile, strawberries, these Hellfire bitters, lemon and sugar. About a strawberry and a half in there.
Muddled.
Want to muddle that. I like a lot of texture in my drinks. I know it might not be for everybody. You might want to like double strain it, this and that, but
No, I'm with you. Let's go with fiber in drinks.
yeah, and you know that you're getting the real deal there.
So now we've got double shot?
Yes, this will be 2 ounces of
chamomile vodka.
Then we're gonna do an ounce of lemon.
Okay. Because we need acid for balance.
You need that acid for sure.
Simple syrup?
3/4 simple. Yep. Not something that's gonna overwhelm the drink or take away from it, but just a little sweetener. And then these
Hellfire Bitterman's bitter.
Bitterman bitters, yeah, and they're not exactly like spicy, but because they're bitters, they leave that little bit of like tang on the back of your tongue. Let's shake.
Oh, so rocks, no strain, nothing, just as is.
Just as is, dirty pour.
Bingo, thank you. Wow, what's not to like? That's great.
Thank you.
What is this pasta shape?
I made
Little
it up.
pillows or something?
Yeah, well, they're purses.
Purses, sorry.
Purses.
They're kind of, all right, they look more like, if that was a pillow, it would be hard to sleep. It looks
would
like a
be.
purse. Looks like the kind of purse women wear, is it a clutch they wear
it is
under
a
their
clutch,
arms?
yeah.
A clutch, okay.
So
You made it up.
I made it up. Well, there's.
So it's clutchini.
That would be fun too.
Clutchini
More of
for the next menu. And what's it filled with? Something cheesy.
Yeah, of course. Ricotta and pecorino. So basically, we just touch these right at the fold to make sure they're nice and tender.
And that's the last place they cook too, the fold.
Yeah.
That's where it's the thickest. Little pasta water because you got so much
Pasta
starch
water,
in there.
So much starch. We're just going to bring that sauce down a little bit.
On a busy night, every table orders pasta.
Yes, we encourage a 3-course dining experience. We do halves and wholes. I like when I go out to eat to have like 3 half pastas and I get to try it, and we want that for our guests as well. So now we line them all up.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Every night.
This is tweezerish.
This is tweezerish. There's a nice flat spoon that we use just for this. And then we have brown butter,
Pre-browned.
pre-browned.
Hard to argue with regular butter and beurre noisette added. Hard to argue with that.
Pecorino, toasted hazelnuts, a little bit of thyme, and then that is our borsta.
Talk to me about 2 things. How do you do the pizza, the dough? Because that's like, I mean, pizza these days is like kind of game-changing moment. Like we've really got some great pies. I walked in, I saw this oven, I'm like, are you kidding me? So you're going a little against the current. It's not wood-fired, she's gas.
Not.
One
It's
fuel only.
One fuel.
But it has a rotating base.
It does, and we can get this up a little higher, and it has a second booster for emergency situations. Our dough is super soft. It's a little different than everyone else's dough. And you're kind of just letting gravity help you.
Yeah, the back of your hands, no pointy, no
There's
nails, no
yeah,
fingers, no
nothing.
digits.
I use my
You can see how
forearms.
thin it is in the middle. I can see it's
Yeah.
really thin.
and then you're just kind of convincing it that it needs to be stretched. It's 00 and
Right.
high gluten.
But American 00.
American 00 and American high gluten. It's olive oil, water, and salt. That's it. So now we just kind of build our pizza. Less is more. I mean, it's kind of how we cook here anyway. So we start with just sliced garlic. This is provolone. The more open space in this oven will burn the dough. So basically the cheese is just protecting the actual pizza, so it doesn't burn. And then we just do a little mozzarella. This is probably one of the hardest things we had to overcome opening this restaurant.
What?
Learning how to do this with
Yeah.
this oven, because it's not, you could go and train and watch other people's kitchens and all that kind of stuff, but this one's different. Once the shallots goes on, salt, and then we finish all of our pizzas with garlic oil, and then we go in. This is always fun.
All right.
We do a little blow underneath it. It kind of releases it, and then it just kind of sails in the oven.
She's not kidding. And that's the commitment to the field. Let it go.
Right.
Don't hesitate.
Do not hesitate. If you hesitate, it's all over.
Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Hillary, Sterling. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having us in.
We're not hiring anyone else that Missy Robbins doesn't recommend. So we're just going to...
Missy Robbins Employment Agency.
It's
We
gonna
have
be
one
right.
number in the...
Right.
Missy, I'm
and if
looking.
anyone is watching this, I don't want them to call her. I want to be the sole Missy Robbins recipient of chefs.
We'll get you the exclusive.
My Colameco's Real Food is brought to you by the continuous, generous support of the following underwriters.
Extra virgin olive oil from Colameco, an Italian family brand.
Rachel Ray's signature specialty food line, designed for preparing meals at home.